Well, we have a special treat for you today. We have some beautiful stencils. Look at that. Actually, 1, 2, 3. So we've got a big one and then 2 little ones. So that all works together. Lots of techniques and special things to share with you. And this is one of the projects that the design team made. If that tweaks your fancy, I bet it does. Won't you please come play with us? Well, the stencils, as I said, are quite different, and that's fun. So the Studio Light, these are the oval shapes, and as you can see, there's 2. I'll just set it down there. So we have the scalloped edge with the scallops going the points in, and then this is one that you can use separately or with the other circle. So we've got those 2. The live area is about 2.5 by 3.5 inches. And then this is a giant 7.5 by 9-inch stencil. Let me just slip it out. This is from our friends at Stamperia. Actually, these are 2 of our favorite companies. And there you go. It doesn't look much different than that, does it? So I'm just going to set this one here because we're going to start with this. Now, it does have this little hook on it so that it can be hung somewhere if you want to. And you can see that you've just got lots of choices in this very pretty lace design. So my first project is by Debbie. And look what she did. Now, when I first saw that, I'm trying to think, well, how did she do that? What is the background? I can see the stencil, and when I touched it, there's dimension, and that's because the clever lady used gray suede. This is the smoke suede. Isn't that pretty? So I think this is the first time we have used a stencil on suede. And so what you can do, because the stencil is so much larger than a card, is that you can just pick out what area you want. So you can see that Debbie used this big flower. Now, she did end up covering most of it, but look at what you can see. You can see lots of it. So that's what's going on. So let me share with you how she did this. I'm going to get my craft mat and put it right here. I will tape my suede down. This is the Hunky Dory low tack tape. I'm just going to put it there and there. Now, you could cut it down to be the size of your card. That would be a good idea. I'm just going to go ahead and just demonstrate it right here for you. And I do want to also tape this down, just because I don't want things wiggling. Now, this is so easy to do. You do want a palette knife, so that's helpful. And I'm going to take, this is a Hunky Dory product. It's pretty new. It's a matte black and it's texture paste. So texture paste, typically you want to spread into the stencil. So I'm going to open this up, and I believe that, yeah, there is a liner. And I'm just going to lift that up and set it right there. Okay, so remember, that's what the card is. So you see the smoky suede, and then the black covers it and creates the design. So I'm just going to, can you see that? I think you can. So this is a nice texture and very easy to move. I'm just going to put part of it on here. And then I'm going to smooth it out with my palette knife. So all you're going to do is this. Just so easy. And I did have kind of a wallop big piece there of the black, didn't I? So I'm just going to spread this out. Can you hear it going over the stencil? Hopefully you're hearing that scraping. You want to hear that because you want the paste just to be in the stencil areas. So you don't want it anywhere else. Okay, you don't want it sitting on top of the stencil. You just want to cover up those evacuated areas that are making the design. So you just do that over the space. And my recommendation is that you do it until you hear that scraping all the way across the area you want to have stenciled. and then you put the rest back in the jar. And with any of the paste, you just want to make sure that you close that tightly and don't let it sit out. And then you want to put this into a pail of water or a container of water, just so that it will not dry onto your palette knife. Okay, and also I always recommend that you don't just lift the entire stencil, that you leave it attached so that if you missed a spot, you can just easily lay it down. So look at that. How effortless, how gorgeous. Of course, it really helps having this wonderful stencil, doesn't it? And I'm going to slip that into the water too. And I just have a plastic container over here. And you do want to let that dry. And how long will it take? It doesn't take very long. You might want to plan on half an hour to an hour. It kind of depends on how warm it is where you are when you do this. But you do want to let it dry. You do want to make sure that you get anything that you've used, like the stencil or the palette knife, into water so that the product does not dry on it. That would not be good. Now, the other thing that happens is, because this is on the suede, you can get a little bit of a shine. You can kind of see a little bit of a shine there, a little bit there, not a whole lot, because the suede is absorbing it, which is exactly what it should do. Now, the other thing that's very neat with this card is this. So you see how she's got this dark. Now, she did trim that down after she stenciled it, and I want to get white underneath this so you can see the edge. There you go. And then she did mat it on black, and she used the Floral Luxury papers, and that's where this piece came from. And then also this, and also this. So you can see it right there. So this is gray, obviously gray and black, but this is black and gray. I guess this is black and gray and this is gray and black, but you can see the difference. Just very, very pretty. And this has a little bit of blue in there. And this is one of the cutouts, and this is another of the cutouts. So that has been cut down and matted on the black, and then foam taped. Then this piece is a cutout, and it's been glued down, and the You Are Loved has been foam taped, so you've got some dimension. Now, another thing that's going on here is this, and this is the Floral Luxury, and this is what she has done right here. So this flower is actually made up of several pieces, as you can see what the cutting die does. And she did them all out of black. She did the berries out of tan, and then she went in with our silver fine tip pen and did some coloring. So she colored the berries on the edges of the leaves, and then she just did the edges of the flower and the center. And silver is really a nice combination with the black and the gray. So isn't that lovely? And you know, doing that suede on the with the paste is just a really gorgeous thing. Okay, you're going to want to remember this, aren't you? Okay, so this is with Floral Luxury and some of the black paste. Okay, now I think I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to show you the next project that Lene did, and she did the same thing, but this time she used the white matte texture paste from Hunky Dory. Same idea. However, she did 2 papers on her card, and these papers came from Patchwork Roses. So here's Patchwork Roses. It was just released not very long ago. And she took a blue sheet and covered her card. You can see the blue pattern. And then took a pink one and tore it and glued it just a piece. Oh, I'd say it's about, of course, it's 5 inches wide and about 2.5 inches. It's cut here and it's torn here, and laid it on top of the blue. Then she did exactly the thing that I did a moment ago, and she put the stencil down and then used the palette knife with the white mat. And she did it also going at an angle. So that's the other thing that's happening here. So it's going at an angle. That way you can see the area of the pattern cardstock underneath. Then she also used, this is the Patchwork Roses Solid, and you can see that she did the flowers using the cutting die. There we go, let's show you everything. This flower is also layered, and you can see what she's done. And the green for the stems also coming out of the cutting die and the Patchwork Roses. So that's going on top of the stencil part. So it's just making a very elaborate background, and the flowers. And then another great year with you, that is out of the die cuts. But then this top part is also out of the cutting die. I love it when there is a lacy border, and you can see how beautiful it is, also out of the white. So that is just what she did here. So she's got a lot of layers going on. 2 colors on the card itself, then the white matte texture paste, and then the cutting dies out of the paper. So laying these branches out and then stacking her flowers, and then her greeting over there. Really nice. Okay, I'm going to go clean off my palette knife. I'll be right back. Well, now we're going to go into these oval stencils, and as I said, these are smaller, and this is what Debbie has done, and isn't that pretty? So she has done 1 layer, and actually on all 3 of these she is using this part of the stencil. So you can see right here and right here, and don't they make a really nice kind of highlighted very special mat behind this chipboard? So that worked nicely. In this case, what she has used is Whispering Florals. Now, Whispering Florals is very muted colors, but very rich design. So you can see this is the green, and it also has the, Whispering Floral Solid, which she's also used, and the chipboard. So she has taken her 5 by 6.5 inch card, and she covered it with the light green solid. Then she cut a piece of the blue patterned, and that's what she used to do these 2 ovals. And I'm just going to show you that for a moment. And you know what? I need to get my craft mat cleaned off, so I'll be right back. Okay, I have my blue patterned out of the Whispering Florals. I've just got it down with the low-tack tape. And then I'm going to position this mask over to the right and then over to the left. And what's nice about having both of these on the same piece is it kind of lets you know how far apart these 2 are going to be. So that's helpful. So I'm going to just use my tape. And in this case, she has used stencil butter. And on the blue, she used the denim. And then she has also used the seafoam stencil butter. And the stencil butter is just going to be like that texture paste that I just did. You want to open this up, and we're going to use the palette knife. In fact, the palette knife we're using on all 4 of the projects today. And I'm just going to scoop this out and just going to spread it. And you may think that putting blue on blue isn't a good idea, but I think it turned out beautifully. In fact, she is going to use green on green also. So that's interesting. So same idea, you just want to cover all of the evacuated area. Now, if you wanted to, you could certainly put a Post-it note or 2 there if you just wanted to be sure that you didn't inadvertently get some of this into a space that you didn't want it to be. So that would be good because, you know, the palette knife is straight and you can't curve it. So, and all of these butters and pastes, you just want to make sure that you keep that lid on because they will dry out. They're drying out on your project, and they will dry out if you leave the lid off. So you just want to really be careful. Some people even recommend putting a drop of water back in, but I can't guarantee that that is effective on everything. So I'm just sharing you a little bit more than I've actually tested. So, but do keep the lid on it and be sure to pop that into water the moment that you are done. And I'm going to do that right now. And as always, just lift off one area and you can see what happened. There we go. Now this is going to become shiny as it dries, and that's really kind of fun because it will be more pearlescent. You can see, I think you can see the shine on that, yeah, on the light. So it's just a really nice shine, and you can see it on here. Now this is the Seafoam on green cardstock, also from the same Whispering Florals. This has been foam taped, so you're going to do it here, turn your paper around, or however you can get the two areas done, let them dry, and then do this on a green piece. And then what also Debbie did is, I think you can see the scalloped edge. Well, she did cut around it, matching the scallop edge that's on the stencil. Right now it's in a bucket of water, but just went around it with a pencil and then cut it out like so. I think you'd want to do the cutting out first before you did the stenciling. You are the best, and these two of the Queen Anne's lace are part of the Whispering Florals chipboard. So you can see, and the inks that were used on those, and just really gorgeous. So very, very nice to get the three elements right there. Okay, now we're going to let this dry, and I'm going to scoot this over and show you the very last project, which is this one. So it's still using the two stencils, but we're getting a very different look, and isn't this pretty? So what Lene did is she covered her card with, this is a novel idea patterned, and here it is, and you can see, I think you can see the pattern right there. So she covered that, and then she did some inking on the edges with the same thing that she used for stenciling. Isn't that interesting? I would not have thought of it. And in this case, she used the Lunar Paste. This is a from Ranger. It's a Simon Hurley product. It's called GRRR, G-R-R-R, exclamation point. There you go. And so she did just dab that around the edge. We're going to do that very very softly and without a ton of it on. Then she used that scalloped one, which is now in the water, getting cleaned off, and cut that out. And so that became her card front. And then on the inside, she's got also more of the novel idea paper, this time in kind of this teal, and then she also went into the novel idea solid to pull this green. Actually, it's the darker side of it, and cut an oval out of that. I'm sure she used our oval cutting dies. And then this is the GRRR again, and this has a very high reflective. In fact, let me show it next to the stencil better. Both of them are pretty shiny. And so this is just using the part that is decorative. So she did that, of course, making sure that it's going to show when their card is closed. To Read is My Cup of Tea. That is a novel idea die cut. And you can see that the die cuts were used all through all of these projects that give you a nice element. Now, she also put the same paper that she used on the front, just two 1/2-inch borders at the top and the bottom, making sure that they do not show when the card is closed. So the GUR is used exactly the same way as the stencil butter and the paste. And so what we've done is we have shown you, let's see, 5 different things that are all applied the exact same way and are going to give you just a wonderful look. And as you can see with this and this, so in black and in white, and then we have this with the stencil butters, and now with the GUR. So all of that. Now, the stencils that we used, let me show you. We have our lace. Now there's that large one. And we also have right now my piece that's still partially blue, but I will bring it out and I promise you I will clean it up. And so both of these are part of our money saver, of course. And I did put in the money saver that suede smoke sheet. That way you can have it and get a little bit of a discount too. So that's not too bad. So that is our money saver. It's on the right-hand side of your screen. The tools, the products that the designers used are down below. You can click on any of the photographs of the cards and you'll see what was used there. Again, the technique is the same, using that palette knife with all of those pastes and butters and GURs. So that will work nicely. Also, on the right-hand side of your screen, we have a subscription to Stencils and Such. We'll get in closer to show this to you. And what you get are at least 2 stencils. Now, this time you get 3, and but the price is the same, $15, so you're going to save a little bit. When you are a subscriber, when you get your stencils, which is before the webisode, you will get something free. This time, you're going to get that sheet of smoky suede. Now here is the piece, and it's almost dry. So there you go. So you can see I've got a lot more space I can use for another project. So that is the freebie this time. And again, if you want to subscribe, it's just right over there on the right-hand side of your screen. You will get the stencils before the webisode, so you have a chance to kind of look at them and think about them and maybe even play with them. So that's fun. Okay, that's what we have. I want to thank Debbie and Lene for doing a wonderful job and expanding their horizons in the world of stenciling. If you happen to be watching us on YouTube, we would love it if you would like us on YouTube, but for goodness sakes, come on over to paperwishes.com. We have a webisode just about every single day. So we will always show you ideas of how to use the products and kind of jumpstart your creativity is how we think about it. And again, I want to thank you for joining us and for being the best part of paperwishes.com. Bye-bye. We'll see you again soon.